Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're feeling Ucey. We're feeling Ucey. We just got back from the Waffle House, and if you know, you know. How's everyone doing today? It is your host, the Matt Weinberg, and it's Showtime. KC Martin is sitting here, as always, with me today. Mr. Showtime, are you feeling Ucey?
You know what, Matt? I am feeling really Ucey today, man. It's been a glorious day for me. You know, I got a lot of traveling going on, going to scout out some talent here soon as well for Riot Pro Wrestling. It can't get any better than that. And yeah, no, Waffle House is always the right way to go.
You know, some would call it awful waffle. We just call it home. Hashtag not sponsored. So, Waffle House, if you do want to listen and want to sponsor the podcast, you can slide into my DMs just like Triple H. My DMs are always open to you and Shawn Michaels if you need some creative help. But with that being said, let's get into some top stories right now. The most important story, Crown Jewel possibly being canceled. This event is supposed to happen November 5th in Saudi Arabia, but there has been talks between Saudi Arabia and the United States in a real life manner that there could be an attack from Iran into Saudi Arabia this weekend. So we don't know what the situation is. We do know that WWE talent is arriving in Saudi Arabia as we speak. But also there is contingency plans in place and that WWE is monitoring the situation. Showtime, what are your thoughts on this? How would, yeah.
This is wild. This is wild, man. I mean, I think that at some point, the safety of your talent is more important than the money that you're going to make off this show, especially when they don't really need it. I love Crown Jewel. I think it's awesome. I'm glad that we continue to see WWE go different places and have outside of the United States pay-per-views as well, or premium live events. But at this point, man, when you have something like that, you have to treat it real because there is nothing that can stop them. And the worst thing you can do is have talent stuck over there as something's going on. And God forbid somebody gets hurt or injured while they're over there because of that. Because we all know, like, when it comes to war, all things are off in the wartime. And so I really feel for everybody. You know, I hope everybody's safe, and I hope Triple H, you know, and team, or I guess Stephanie as well, makes the right call and the right decisions. And if they do decide to have it, I just pray that nothing happens this weekend for them.
Yeah, I definitely think that they're taking everything seriously. They are monitoring the situation. I'm sure that they're in talks with the people that they have in Washington and all that sort of stuff. But most importantly, to keep the talent and the fans safe is the most important thing. Looking to the future, though, if it does have to be canceled or postponed, what direction do you believe that they would take? We've heard rumors about maybe just refilming it on Monday or just, rebooking it another time, or are we going to get another premium live event instead? What are your thoughts on that? How would you proceed if there needs to be some sort of change?
So here's the crazy thing. I did hear a wild rumor. I don't think there's any chance that they do this, but I heard a weird, wild rumor going around that they might go back home, right, to the United States, and then do it at the Performance Center. So I have heard that rumor running around here for the last day or so as well. I don't think that's going to happen, especially for the fact that they cannot charge at the Performance Center either. So it would be a free event. But, man, you'll have a crazy wild crowd if you did it. Obviously, being on a very, very smaller scale than what Crown Jewel would be. But that's a great way. I've also heard of them going to Arizona instead, so somewhere in Phoenix, as well as another ride.
So would you change the name from Crown Jewel to something else if it was at the Performance Center? Because like Crown Jewel is this big, huge thing. Would you call it like Little Rock?
No, I think you keep it Crown Jewel. You know what I mean? Like, they'll just do what they did back in the day for when we were in COVID. They'll put a big Crown Jewel thing on the backside and make it feel like it's really big. That Performance Center is a good size. So you can make, they have to do a lot of work, but you could definitely make it look a little bit better. And again, I mean, the crazy part is, what do you do with fans?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is the fan thing is going to be very different if they have to do the Performance Center. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that they would flip that script and maybe go find another stadium somewhere else. But I don't know how they can really do that within, a couple days time. They would have had to, especially with selling tickets, like you're not going to be able to sell tickets in a day notice.
Right.
Maybe. So what the best thing I think for them to do is either just keep it in Saudi Arabia. Maybe instead of it being on Saturday, it'll be on Sunday or Monday. We'll have it for Monday Night Raw from Saudi Arabia instead, which will be interesting. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Stephanie and Nick Khan really handle this situation, because this is the first time that they've had to deal with something like this. But WWE is a multi-billion-dollar company and is a global company, so I'm sure that they're talking to the best people to be making the best decisions.
Yeah, go to Canada. You can never go wrong in Canada.
Can you?
Yes, they have never had a bad anything in Canada. Canada is wild for them. That's a great place. I know they're going back there anyway soon, but that's something that they should definitely continue to look into. I think Canada's a great spot to go back to. And you could feel it. I think in a day you could feel it. All right. It'd be crazy, but I think they could really do it. Because, obviously, you discount tickets down. Just like here, if you went to Florida, anywhere, like the people that I've been talking to, they're already ready. They are waiting and prepared to buy these tickets.
Well, and that's the thing. Well, and that's the thing, too, is I think that they have to go somewhere where they're already at, if that makes sense. Because they ship the ring to Saudi Arabia. It's not like they have one there. So, if they decide to go, hey, random place, let's go to UK or let's go to Australia or New Zealand or let's go to Arizona or Toronto, they have to have a ring there. They
got 4 of them at the Performance Center.
Crown Jewel technically is at, I know, but Crown Jewel is technically in like 24 hours because they're 12 hours ahead or something like that in Saudi Arabia. So, they need to make that decision like within the next 4 hours, I would say. They do have a couple of rings in Saudi Arabia, but it's not just the ring, it's the whole entire setup, So wherever Raw is on Monday or wherever Thursday or wherever Friday Night SmackDown is, I would probably say that it's going to be close to there, if not the same place. They already have the tickets built in. They can just, whatever, do with that as they will, but it's not as simple as, hey, can we use your stadium? All right, cool, we're just going to show up. They have to have the ring. They have to have the setup. They have to have the staff. So I think they're going to probably hold out in Saudi until the last possible second. And I think the smartest decision, if it's not Saudi, then is Performance Center. And you either run with a very, very, very select crowd or you don't run a crowd at all.
I don't think you can go without a crowd. I get what's going on. That would suck, though.
I don't think you can run it without a crowd, but the thing at Crown Jewel is you have all the kings and all the, the Saudi princes and all that sort of stuff in there. So I don't know realistically, because my understanding of how that deal is they get to say exactly what talent and kind of how they want to see that talent. So, even Saudi's been asking for Yokozuna for like 3 or 4 years now, and they don't realize that he's unfortunately is dead. So like that's the reason why we always get these big name matches. That's why we've gotten Undertaker, which is why we've gotten Goldberg, which is why we keep on getting Lesnar, which is why we're probably getting Lesnar versus Lashley and Braun versus Omos at Crown Jewel, because they want big meat slapping big meat, as Big E would say. They don't want 45-minute 6-star at the Tokyo Dome matches. They want big meat smacking big meat, because it's a spectacle over there. So I don't think you can have Crown Jewel any other way besides the way that it's been done, because how does that might void that deal or that contract that they have with Saudi and how that works out. I mean, acts of God and nature and all that sort of stuff does happen, and you can't control the real world, but I don't think WWE is that stupid to just break a contract like that.
No, I mean, you just move it somewhere else. I think the best thing to do is, if you're going to have something anyway, is you move it, Performance Center. And I don't think the Performance Center is a great way to go, but that would be probably the best option, especially with NBA back. So you can't just go to any gym either. You got college football on Saturdays, so you can't go to like a college football stadium.
You have football, basketball, soccer, and hockey going on right now, college and professional. So, it's going to be very hard for them to figure out where they're going. So, like I said, that was weird. Performance Center or where they're already at for Monday Night Raw would make the most sense.
Fair.
So, let's move on. We've been talking about this for weeks. I'm tired of talking about it. So, this will be the final time that I speak about it. It looks like CM Punk is done with wrestling altogether. He's no longer part of AEW. They have decided to side with the Elite and the Young Bucks and all that on this matter, and looks like they have bought out his contract. There was rumors that he was going to show up somewhere else, possibly Impact. There was rumors for a while that Triple H was possibly looking at bringing Punk back. But it looks like Phil, he approved everyone right. Have a great life. Hopefully, maybe your awesome wife comes back to wrestling one day, but I highly doubt that.
I think she wants to come back, though.
Ain't got much to say left on that, Showtime. Do you have any respect to CM Punk?
I mean, at the end of the day, this was a terrible way for it to end for his career once again. I mean, it just obviously shows and proves that, he is a cancer in the locker room. They were reported that Chris Jericho reached out to him and told him that he was a cancer and bad for the locker room and shouldn't come back either. So I think at this point, with CM Punk, it's just time to chop it up. You've had your time. It didn't work out. I necessarily don't believe that either one of the issues are a problem. I think that at the end of the day, people get in fights, even in Riot Pro Wrestling, we've had back of the room fights. We had people all the time going through it. I think that they all should have been more professional about it and just figured out how to continue to go. But for people who are wondering why they didn't choose CM Punk, guys, you bet on your young talent. You do not bet on an old wrestler. It never is going to work. CM Punk literally only changed all of the views for like 2 weeks, and then it was over. So stop going this whole CM Punk thing. It's time to move on. I get the hype of him. I got nothing against him in the ring. He's been awesome. He's had a great career of what he's done. But again, he is not The Rock. He is not Stone Cold. Leave it alone. Let the man go, especially after you get punked by Johnny Bananas on MTV. I'll never let that go. Can't let it go. Sorry.
Yeah, at one point CM Punk was my favorite, but if you look at the careers of CM Punk and like AJ Styles, both coming from the same kind of cloth, their matches in ROH really got me into wrestling and independent wrestling growing up, and to see AJ's career is kind of just restarting almost, even though he's on his last contract that he says this is the contract he's going to retire off of, and he just continues to be himself in there. And Punk has just realized, really, to me, he stayed too long. He became a villain, and the real person came out. And, that real person's not a nice person. So, whatever. Moving on. Going from CM Punk to old friends of CM Punk, Colt Cabana comes out on AEW last night to face Chris Jericho for the ROH title. Really cool to see Colt Cabana come back. Really interesting. And if you are on wrestling Twitter, it is a crazy toxic place. But everyone was freaking out going, oh my God, why would you choose Colt Cabana and the Elite over CM Punk? And exactly what Showtime just said, like, You're not going to choose one guy over 6. You're not going to choose the old grizzled veteran over the younger talent. And I know the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega aren't young talent, but that's a business decision. I'll take 6 people for one person all day, every day. Are you happy? Are you happy to see Colt come back? Are you good with the decision of taking 6 over 1, or am I just speaking out of tune here?
No, you're absolutely right, especially for the fact of, God forbid, you get rid of your EVPs and your younger, more vibrant talent, and they go to WWE. That would be terrible. I mean, like, I don't think people understand as a business sense that you have to get, if they left AEW, Triple H would be calling them the next day. And if they moved over to WWE, first of all, it's already a wrap for AEW. AEW's not. Anybody who thinks AEW still actually has a chance in hell to compete with WWE has lost their mind anyway. But at the same time, if you move Kenny Omega and them over to WWE, it's a wrap for AEW. That, like, there is no coming back from that. WWE would smash them more than they already are at this point, because there's just so much. Like, imagine Triple H having his hands on Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks to have with the Usos. I mean, you could go down to NXT at any point just to do stuff. You could go all over the place. Kenny Omega, I can go on the list for days of what you do. Him versus Seth Rollins, right off the bat. I mean, you could go anywhere you want to with that. There's just so much out there for him, and there's no way that AEW would ever be able to come back and compete with something of that nature. So Tony Khan did the right thing. Whether the way it would happen and end it was well or fair, who knows? But I think it is hilarious that, you see, CM Punk leave, and then somehow magically, guess who pops back up? Colt Cabana. So, as much as people say he didn't have anything to do with it or not, that's not important. But, I mean, it pretty much shows you that as soon as we got done with CM Punk, Colt Cabana popped back up. So there's got to be something with that as well.
Oh, I mean, yeah, there's been bad blood between Punk and Cabana for years. So it is what it is, as we will say. Moving on to some fun news before we get into some somber news. We did see Simone, The Rock's daughter, debut in NXT as part of the Schism. Very excited about that. Showtime. Give me the inside scoop. What are your thoughts?
Man, she's killing it right now. I mean, I don't know how well she's going to do as far as wrestling goes. So I've heard mixed emotions about her wrestling skills so far in that. But obviously she's still very, very green. But one thing I will say about her that really surprised me is her ability to have a promo. Like, I mean, she's talking at almost a 5-star level where half these guys have been in wrestling forever and still can't cut a good promo. So I am very intrigued to see where she goes. I don't know if that's, some of the Rock coming out of her or not. But I do really like and love the fact that they're not playing off of her being the Rock's daughter and literally giving her her own creative character. There's some people that you want to play off and it makes sense. But on the other end, it doesn't. So like a Braun Breaker, I would love for him to become a Steiner. That makes so much sense, and it just evolves that storyline. But for Sloan, I love what she's doing so far. And if she can put the talent of her mic skills into the ring, she's going to be a force, a big force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I agree fully. I think this is the spot to do it in. Thinking about who she probably had to cut promos on her whole entire life, i.e. Roman, the Usos, Solo, Rikishi, her dad, Alpha and Sika, stuff like that. That's who she's been around her whole entire life. So hopefully the genetics and the talent and the it factor rubs off on her, or has rubbed off on. And I fully agree. I like where they're going with this. It's very different. And the thing about this is people are like, oh, why don't you put her up on the main roster? She's The Rock's daughter. Oh, why don't you put her in the bloodline? It makes so much sense. And you gotta think, the reason why they're not doing that is because the same people that are saying, why isn't she in the bloodline, are also the people that are saying Dominic Mysterio never should have been on Raw and SmackDown. And just living off of the fact that I'm Rey Mysterio's son, I should be on the main roster no matter what. So this is the correct way of doing it in certain people's eyes, and the Dominic Mysterio is the right way to do it in some people's eyes. I can't tell you which is right or wrong. I think we see things differently. Certain people have that it factor, and we can see Dominic as soon as the mic opened up and people started recognizing it. Even though I want to punch him in the face, he's the really good heel, and you can tell that he didn't need that time in NXT, and now the wrestling and stuff like that will come into play as he's able to go further. Same thing with let's say Logan Paul. Like Logan Paul's had 2 matches in WWE. I'm already in. I watch Impulsive now every single week. Just kidding. I watch the episodes I want to watch. So it might take Simone a little bit longer, and you also have to give her the opportunity to separate herself from the family and from her father. Not everyone's going to be The Rock. Not everyone's going to be Roman. Not everyone's going to be an Uso or something like that. Even if they're all from the same family, they're cut from the same cloth, she still needs to separate herself as her before she's able to integrate anything else. Roman was Roman before he was head of the table. The Usos were the Usos before they were the greatest tag team of all time. Solo was somebody, Solo was Solo before he was part of the bloodline. He was able to create his own stuff, and the rest of that family was able to be themselves before they were a part of anything bigger than that. So I like where they're going with this, to all the trolls and stuff like that.
Can I just have one suggestion? I have one thing to say that comes to her. Only thing I want that she needs to adapt at some point in her life, because I think that it is a great story to tell, is she does the rock bottom. That should be her finisher. That's the only thing I'm saying. The rock bottom needs to be her finisher.
I like that.
That's the only thing I would say. Other than that, leave everything else alone. Just do the rock bottom.
I love it. All right, so moving into a little bit more somber news, NXT has announced some releases. Rufang, Demarius Griffin, Eric Yan, Sloan Jacobs, and Bodie Hayward. Bodie Hayward being the most notable on them as a pretty mainstay on NXT, as a member of Chase U. It is unfortunate that these people have lost their jobs. Luckily, though, it's in a time frame where they could probably go get another job or another contract somewhere. I think Bodie had tweeted out, he had 30 days on the non-compete or something like that. So he'll probably be somewhere soon. But we are going to report that the reason why he was released was that he's apparently a handful in the locker room, and just a lot to deal with, that's coming in from Brian Alvarez. So interesting. Showtime, I'm going to throw it to you. What are your thoughts on these releases? I know you are close to the NXT talent and stuff like that. So give me the inside scoop.
Yeah, so, out of the ones that we just went over, Sloan was another one for me that kind of shocked me. I thought that she had a lot of good up to go still. I think that she just needs some character work. So hopefully that she can get, what she needs and then can come back. Because I do think she's going to be a really good talent. But going back to Bodie, Bodie is definitely a fan favorite of a lot of people. Definitely brought energy every time. Was super cool. Always hung out. Really was good with the crowd as well. So, from an NXT family standpoint, man, knowing these guys pretty well, this one does hurt a little bit, to really see that. But I think the biggest thing for him when he's in 30 days is that I'm hoping that he can get everything together, move the right directions. I don't know what exactly happened. I heard the same from Brian Alvarez as well. But as long as he can, get whatever he was doing before out of the system and really figure out how to get back to being really more professional, then I actually see Bodie coming back. They did pay homage to Bodie on Tuesday. So I do think that you'll see him possibly coming back somewhere down the line for it. I don't know if we'll see him in like an AEW or something. I don't know if he'll do all of that. But I definitely think that he'll come back at some point.
Maybe we'll see him on a future Riot Pro Wrestling show. You never know,
man. Bodie.
Call the man. Call the man. That's all we're going to say. So some interesting, cool news with the Forbidden Door opening. On AEW, we saw Katsuyori Shibata come out and challenge Orange Cassidy. Shibata is one of the greatest out there right now. If you're looking for a 45-minute 6-star to Tokyo Dome match, this is the type of talent you're going to see from Shibata. In regards to Orange Cassidy, I honestly don't get Orange Cassidy, and we can dive into this. I've been on record saying this multiple times. I don't understand the whole hands in pocket thing. It doesn't do anything for me. So you look like you're excited and ready to jump the gun. I'm going to throw out the other match that we're talking about, and then I'm going to let you loose because I want to know your opinion on both of them, and then I want to see your pick for the better match. So just like that was announced in the AEW, it was announced that the Great Muta is going to face none other than Shinsuke Nakamura, while Shinsuke is still under WWE contract. So this is huge, 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 huge news that WWE is opening up the Forbidden Door once again. Hopefully this is the beginning of a good relationship with this promotion in Japan. I had heard that AEW was trying to put a stop to this match, but thankfully they let it happen. So, yeah, I'm going to throw it over to you, Showtime. Give me everything you got on both of these, and which one are you more looking forward to seeing?
I'm with you on Orange Cassidy. I've never been a huge fan. I get it for, like, it's the character, and that's what he does. The guy is super talented, though, so I will, always pay respect to that. Even when he puts his hands in the pocket, I'm not really sure how he does some of the moves he does with his hands in the pocket. I could do without the little, weak little kicks and stuff that he does, though. I could do without that. I think that's going to be an awesome match, though. I mean, you can't go wrong with Shibata in there, and I think that Orange Cassidy will rise to that occasion because he is a super talented person. But my favorite is Shinsuke Nakamura. Like, that's my guy. And I think that this is the time where we're going to see Shinsuke get away from WWE Shinsuke and go back to New Japan Shinsuke. And if we get that hard-hitting old Shinsuke, oh, my God, that against Great Muta, that's going to be awesome. I think both of these could come out to be 5-star matches, but I just think the Shinsuke, if we get the old Shinsuke, I don't think you can beat that out because that's just going to be amazing. And then also on top of it, it's a WWE person finally going through that Forbidden Door that has never happened really ever, except for if Vince McMahon bought the company and then did it. So I think that's going to be the bigger match between the two.
Yeah, I mean, we've had people from other promotions show up in WWE, but we've never had a WWE active roster member go to another promotion and compete. I mean, we saw that with Mickie James coming back in the Royal Rumble, the Women's Royal Rumble, 2 years ago?
Yep.
And she was current TNA Impact champion at that time.
Last year.
So that's interesting. I mean, we're seeing last year. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing Carl Anderson do it right now. Carl Anderson is there's actually reports of him accidentally double booking himself on purpose for November 5th because he's supposed to defend a title that he has in Japan. So that's very interesting to see that. But we've never seen a current WWE superstar go to another promotion. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens. Shinsuke is the dude, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And he loves being in WWE. He loves being in Orlando. He loves being an hour from the beach.
Yes.
So I don't foresee him leaving WWE. But if they're able to set him up like this and have him go back and forth to Japan and do that, it's one, smart because it's going to build him because he's going to be able to put on matches over there that he's not able to do in WWE because the strong style is not really there yet. Unless you're going up against like Gunther, which isn't happening right now. But it'll also get more eyes to start looking at WWE because he's going over there as a representative of the company. So people going over there that are watching it for certain reasons might go, oh, let me see his other matches or let me see what he's been up to lately. So they'll put more eyes back on WWE, which is overall a good thing as well.
I'm with you, man.
So we're gonna move back. There's some changes in the AEW upper management. Jeff Jarrett has been brought into the organization. It's a full-time, multi-year deal to help them grow AEW. I know you have a lot to say on this, or at least a strong opinion on it. So, Showtime, I'm just going to throw it over to you.
I am very, very excited for Jarrett to be there. I think that this is what AEW has needed. I mean, you have the Mark Henrys there, and you're obviously not using him to the best of his ability. You have the Big Shows there. You have the Jerichos, and, you need somebody who has done it all over on multiple different promotions to come in and really help you grow. I'm really excited to see where Jeff Jarrett goes from here, how he, puts and implements his little things here and there. He's really good at storytelling as well. So I'm hoping that I start seeing a little bit of that, because that is something that's super lackluster right now in AEW. Is I don't understand what's going on. I mean, they just throw matches together just to throw matches together. Their long-term booking is terrible. So anybody's telling me that they have good long-term booking, no, they just don't know what they're doing. And they have way too many people on the roster, so you just don't see them after a while. I think that Jarrett's going to really, really help put all of that together and really show, Tony Khan how it's supposed to go when it comes to booking a wrestling show and where to go with talent. Because I think that's the next step for them as well, is understanding the talent they have and understanding you don't need all that talent. You got to figure out to get a good roster of good people. Yes, you can have dark rosters too, but when you start taking your main roster people and putting them on dark instead of having that to elevate anybody that's lower that you're trying to just build, it doesn't make sense at all either. So I think this is going to be a good pickup for them. I think TK did a really good job of getting Jeff Jarrett in.
No, I think it's a great decision also. Nothing else to say about it. So 2 more stories, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast for you guys. So next is the rumor mills are being turned around again that WWE is starting to open up their scouting for independent talent again. The focus lately has been on college athletes and bringing in actual wrestlers and stuff like that to make it more realistic, as we've been reporting for the last couple months. That tide is turning. They're looking to get those indie darlings again. I'm super excited for this. I think that is what helped build NXT to become what NXT has, and has really helped fuel WWE. The main roster, if you think about it, Roman Reigns is a homegrown WWE talent, and so is Seth Rollins, who are probably the top, 2 in the company right now. But if you think about Finn Balor, indie darling, Adam Cole when he was there, he's now in AEW, but indie darling. All of these people that have been brought in from NXT up to the main rosters, mainly seen on the women's side with Charlotte, Sasha, Becky, Bayley. They all came from all over in that aspect. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. I'm all for it. And then with that being said, we do have WWE's Q3 earnings report came out. And revenue for quarter 3 looks like it's about $304.6 million, which is an increase of 19% from quarter 2. So in Triple H we trust is the mood going forward. So final thoughts on these, Showtime, and then we'll get into the actual meat and potatoes of this episode.
Yeah, I'm super excited for the indies coming into, obviously being on the indie scene. I'm very excited for the indies coming into NXT. I think that this is a great way to go. I don't think you need a whole bunch of them, but as we see with Black and Gold, that's what made Black and Gold stand out so much. I think with NXT, what you want, and I've been talking about this for a while, is you want to cross these guys going forward, right? So you have main roster people. I pitched this idea before, sitting around with friends and that. You take Dana Brooke, you bring her down to NXT, and you make her beat Mandy, and now you build Dana Brooke up to be the next type of what Mandy was. You take Mandy and Toxic Attraction and move them up to the main roster.
So I'll actually throw this at you. It was reported this week that Dana Brooke has pitched the idea to transition the 24/7 championship into a women's intercontinental style championship. So it's a women's undercard championship, if you will.
Yeah.
So I do thoroughly like that. The reason behind it is that they have all this women talent, and besides the main women's titles and the tag championship, there's nothing really for them to do. So if you give, and it's just kind of bickering storylines between the Damage Control versus Bianca Belair and Asuka and all that sort of stuff, is the only reason why it's relevant is because it's for the titles. Yep. So this would give them another opportunity to showcase matches that don't necessarily have to be part of the title picture. It can be a part of a different title and all that sort of stuff. So I wasn't really going to get your thoughts on that right now, but since we brought it up, what are your thoughts on that?
I love that idea. I think that that's a great way. I still don't know if you have a ton of women yet to make a good pool of them, but I think that, again, you make this title a traveling title. I think I like that idea more than anything, so that they can go to NXT and have a match if they need to. They could be on Raw and have a match, or on SmackDown and have a match. If you do that, I'm all for it, because I hate that 24/7 title. It was a stupid idea. It's terrible. Yeah, I mean, R-Truth made it fun. That's the only thing.
It was great for when it started, but now it's run its course. I mean, we haven't even seen it on TV since Triple H took over, and that's been at least 100 days. Yeah. I believe that Triple H celebrated 100 days as the top yesterday, so that makes total sense. But
they use it on the weekend events ones, but that's about it.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even know that Dana Brooke was still in WWE. I thought she went back to bodybuilding up until that article came out. So, yeah.
Yeah, man, I think it's a good idea. I think that's a great job for them.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like the idea of transitioning the 24/7 title into that title. I believe that they should just trash that title, and then, I mean, because the thing is honestly, if you look at titles, it's not necessarily the title that makes a champion, but the champion that makes a title in a way. And the fact that everybody and their mother has been a 24/7 title. I mean, look, I love him to death. He's a huge inspiration to me in terms of why I wanted to start a podcast in the first place. But that sweet Peter Rosenberg from Cheap Heat, Hot 97, he was on WWE. Like, Pete Rosenberg is a 24/7 champion, and so like that sort of stuff. There's NFL players that are 24/7 champions. There's actors and actresses that are 24/7 champions. So there's no prestige to it. There's no reason why these people want to go after that champion, and they won't ever really be able to do that. I mean, what R-Truth is like a 23-time 24/7 champion, 24 times 24/7 champion. So, like, it doesn't make any sense. It's not like the hardcore title where you could pin anyone, anytime, any place like that back in the day. So create a new title, make it prestigious like the Intercontinental title. Mm-hmm. Whoever wins that first IC title, they should be day in and day out, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, defending that belt and not dropping it, I would say, for at least 6 months. You need a good, solid first reign to build that title up to a certain level, and then do whatever you want with it. But make it something that is attainable. Heck, I've been talking about it since the last 2 weeks. Bring back a King of the Ring, give us a women's and a men's King of the Ring, and then make that title the trophy, essentially, for the women's King of the Ring.
That's not a bad idea. I mean,
or I think Queen of the Ring, if you will.
I think what people aren't seeing with Triple H is he is basically shoring up, how you're going to start seeing premium live events and the big ones. So if you look at it, he's taking Money in the Bank and getting rid of that pay-per-view, and now putting a women's Money in the Bank on one night, a men's on the next. So right there, you have for sure a WWE heavyweight title. If it's the way it is now, so you have one person for that for the men's, and then you have women's, and then you also have now Money in the Bank. So he's making sure that these premium live events that we start seeing, you're going to see great stuff all the time, and you're going to get great matches instead of how WrestleMania has been, where there's just a whole bunch of things that they put together just to put them together. Same with Elimination Chamber. He's bringing that into depth as well.
And the thing is that it makes more sense to do it that way, because that means that they can win Money in the Bank on WrestleMania. They can use it that night if they choose so, or they have a whole year exactly, essentially, to use that title. Now they don't, and it's not like in the middle of what Money in the Bank right now is like April or not. No, that's WrestleMania.
No, it was like July, something like that, I believe.
Yeah. So realistically, I mean, you have it in July, right? So why are you going to do that after Mania season? It doesn't make any sense to me. Why are you going to do that after, the Royal Rumble, stuff like that? Like, if you win the Royal Rumble, you win the main event to WrestleMania, let's say.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much you can do with that now, because now I can have someone win Royal Rumble and then also win Money in the Bank, and I can insert myself into that match if I want to.
Yep.
I mean, and how many times have they done the Money in the Bank winner and then cash in? Liv Morgan did it recently. Carmella, I think, did it recently.
Almost every women's title has
been,
something like that.
Yeah.
And
so I like that idea. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, Hell in a Cell, I think, should go back to how it was in the Attitude and the Ruthless Aggression era, which is the blow-off match. You have a couple other matches before you get to Hell in a Cell. I mean, Hell in a Cell, the really reason why you're doing it is because you want to go to hell with that person. It shouldn't just be like we talked about during Extreme Rules. I don't think, because it's Extreme Rules, every match needs to have the Extreme Rules match, but every match should have some sort of stipulation. It's the one night where they can get crazy like that. Go all out. But I don't need one pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell to have one Hell in a Cell match. If you're going to have a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell, every single match needs to be a Hell in a Cell match, in my opinion.
Yeah,
or
I'm with you.
I freaking love that fight pit idea.
I don't know about the fight pit. I'm still kind of iffy about the fight pit part. But I'm with you on the Hell in a Cell. I think everything should be in one, and obviously,
I dig the fight pit.
I don't think they could do it. I don't think they would ever get to a point where they have 5-7 matches in Hell in a Cell. I think that would be way too much and way too many people getting hurt. So I think that the way Triple H is doing it now, by doing it, would be good.
I think you could do that. I think if you did it as a paid live event, I think it would be better than like a pay-per-view event. I think you could do that, and you can just do it like how NXT does, like Tag Title Tuesdays in a way. Mm-hmm. You could just be like Hell in a Cell Saturday. So every championship has to be defended in a cell, right? So you have at least your men's championship, your women's championship, your tag team championship, Intercontinental US. That's 6 Hell in a Cell matches.
I would love to
make them all 30 minutes. That's 3 hours.
That would be good.
I mean, we haven't seen that since the we haven't seen that since the Usos and the New Day.
Yep. So I'd love to see more of that happen.
So and I think the last Hell in a Cell match was Seth versus The Fiend.
No, Edge. They did last year at Crown Jewel.
Edge.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I apparently didn't watch last year at Crown Jewel, probably. So, but speaking of Crown Jewel, it is November 3rd right now, if I'm not mistaken. We have Crown Jewel November 5th. We do know that there's some stuff going on with Crown Jewels we talked about at the beginning of the show, but we did want to sit down and at least do our predictions or possibly what we think could happen. There is some other stuff going on with this. Some schmozzes, if you will, going around with this, and some mystery opponents and stuff like that. So we do have some stuff to talk about. This is the Crown Jewel 2022 Prediction Showdown. Your current Showtime Wrestling champion, Mr. Showtime, is defending his title against myself. Showtime not only won the first prediction of Extreme Rules, but also the second prediction of NXT Halloween Havoc. So your boy Matt Weinberg is on a losing streak. We're not doing so well. So if you got any suggestions and you want to get in, if you want to get into this prediction battle, comment below, leave us a review, go find us on social media, and get in on this conversation. The conversation lately has been about Showtime's Power 5 rankings every single week. Y'all have been talking about that a lot lately, so thank you very much. I know I appreciate it. I know Showtime hates it because he hates interacting with the fans, because you know what? He's always correct and nobody else is wrong. But this is the fun that we have. We can only talk to each other for so much. We want to talk to y'all. So appreciate all the support that we've had so far. So let's get into this. I know the script I kind of sent over to you, Showtime. I'm not going to go on that because I want to save the main event for the main event. So let's go for there, right? Let's just start off on the bat with the OC, AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson versus the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio with Rhea Ripley. It is a 6-man tag match. The OC has been teasing for the last couple of weeks on that they need a situation or they need help with Rhea Ripley. So let's get into first, who do you think is going to come out on top of this match, Showtime? But also, who comes to help the OC?
I don't know if I would call this a prediction or a spoiler of who's coming, but I think I actually do know who the person is going to be. But first, I've been thinking back and forth on this for a while because, I am always right and I want to make the right choice and win again. And, I am going to predict that the OC actually wins this match. I know it's crazy, but I'm going to predict they win this match. And like I said, y'all remember this. Raquel Gonzalez is the women that they bring out.
Okay.
Mark my words.
Okay. See, my initial gut reaction was to go with the OC because there's no way that they bring him in to just lose. But
this is a tough one.
It is a tough one because, there shouldn't be any fallout from this, but there's going to be fallout from this. I think the Judgment Day doesn't need to win, but I think they do need to win to still, because they're still rising. The OC or, the original Bullet Club, all that sort of stuff, even though whatever they're going through. I think one thing's for certain. If the OC does win, I think this is going to maybe be the breaking point for Finn in Judgment Day. Because why would he just lost to his friends, or friends. Why would he stay with these friends in a way? I'm going to go with Judgment Day because I think that is the way that the story's going. That helps elevate them still, and I think they need to be elevated. The OC doesn't need to be elevated. I think that they're going to swerve a little bit. I don't know who they're going to bring. I do believe it's going to be someone from outside the company or a returning superstar. I think the relationship that AJ has with Charlotte could allow Charlotte to come in, and we know Charlotte can actually handle Rhea with all the battles that they've had before. But I did have a theory the other day. I don't know what is the contract situation with this person, but I would love to throw this back to the Impact days, and I would love to see them bring out Awesome Kong.
Ooh, okay. That actually, either one would be really nice. It'd be a swerve for us, for sure. I mean, Charlotte coming back would be amazing. But Awesome Kong would also be a pretty big deal as well to bring.
I don't think they're going to bring back. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Sometimes I actually have a good one. The thing is, I think this is a good place to put Charlotte if you're going to bring her back. I know we've talked about recently how she wants Bianca when she comes in, and we'll get into my thoughts on that when we get to Bianca versus Bayley at Crown Jewel. But I think Charlotte's being reserved for something bigger, which I think is to go against Bianca in the future. But you also have, a solid 6 months, let's say, before Mania. So she can come in, run a program with AJ, and kind of bring it back to their mixed match tag team days when they were both heavyweight champions, and take on Rhea and Dominic in a match, going forward, which I think is another reason why the Judgment Day wins, because they win despite bringing in another person, and that can set up another match for what Survivor Series is next, Survivor Series War Games. So now it would be 4-on-4.
That's why I think that
so
OC
they could
wins.
do a 4-on-4. Interesting.
That's where I'm going with that. I think OC wins to set that up down the line, because now Judgment Day's been kicking their ass the entire time. So you give them a win. Now the only way that you can get through this is by going into Survivor Series. I don't know if they do War Games. I would love for it to be War Games. I don't know if that's going to happen, but at least be on Survivor Series. 4 vs. 4 would be awesome.
I mean, it would be interesting to see if they do the War Games on that. I think they would have to add in one more person each, which could technically be that catalyst. So maybe Finn says to them, hey, like, and joins the OC. Then Judgment Day brings in 2 more people, and it's just, you know, whatever they're going to do. I don't know. It's a lot to think about. But no, I think it more or less is just going to set up a mixed tag match between AJ and partner versus Dominic and Rhea. I think that's the way that they go with this. But they are setting Rhea up to look like an absolute beast. And I think that also could be a way to go too. If you have Charlotte come in, you make Rhea look awesome. Rhea can possibly go over against Charlotte, let Rhea go against Bianca for a little bit, and then Charlotte can get back into the swing of things, give her a couple months to get back into top-tier form and not immediately put her in a title situation, which will probably piss people off. Because they'll go, oh, she's just Charlotte Flair. She's automatic into the championship. Same thing like we're doing with Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is so big and people want to see him, but they don't want to see him necessarily go up against Roman Reigns right away. I think it's a smart decision. Let Charlotte, play a little bit with Bayley, play a little bit with Nikki Cross's situation, or who else, or maybe go against Mandy, and we'll get into that in the later as well. So I have a good feeling about that, but we'll see. So again, I'm gonna go with the Judgment Day, despite my original feelings, and Showtime is going to go with the OC with Raquel Gonzalez. I think Charlotte is going to come back and or a TNA surprise like Awesome Kong. Excuse me. Next, we're going to go into Big Meat, Smack and Big Meat number 1. Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley in a singles match. I don't know where to go with this one, man. What do you think? Where's your head at for this?
This one's a tough one for me as well, because I neither one, besides bragging rights, neither one of them elevates each other in this situation. We just all want to see it. Everybody wants to see them beat each other up and destroy everything around them. So I'm gonna go with Bobby Lashley in this one.
Who won their first meeting?
I do not
Lesnar?
remember. It was so long ago. Probably.
Man, this is what this. All right, so I'm gonna side note here. I need you to open up the checkbook. I need a side guy here for IT to look up all this stuff, like how Rogan has a young Jamie. I need a young Jamie. So, boss man, I need you to open up a checkbook for me, please.
We can talk about that.
We can find this information out. Yeah. So, my initial feeling is Bobby Lashley. I think Bobby is the way to go on this. Now, if that being said, if Bobby was the winner of the first matchup that they had together, I do believe Brock wins, because it's a way to set up another match for them, which we know we're going to eventually get. I think this is a way for Brock to go away for a little bit if Bobby beats him, and then come back when he pleases, as they've been doing for years with him. Bobby, I don't think, is in a point to lose right now, because he's just got basically being the most over I've seen Bobby Lashley in years, going up against Seth Rollins and Austin Theory and The Miz and all that sort of stuff as United States champion. And I think that continues for him.
Based on this, they have never fought before. This would be the first time.
That's not true, but okay.
I mean, everything I looked at, everything just says this is a dream match. Never happened before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, then.
So,
Well, maybe I'm wrong.
Now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever actually seen it anywhere either. So this would be a good one. I just think Bobby wins because I don't see Lesnar coming back until WrestleMania time, if that. I mean, I'm actually impressed that Lesnar's back now. I thought he was literally going to be gone and done with, wrestling. So I don't see why you give this to Brock Lesnar to beat somebody who's on your weekly TV.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think Bobby does win this because of that reason. I think Lesnar can possibly go and lick his wounds for a little bit and then bring this back to when maybe Bobby has a championship, or after Mania when Roman is no longer the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. Or like I've been talking about, maybe he comes back at Rumble to set that up. Maybe he comes... maybe they do a King of the Ring sort of deal, like I said, like I've been pitching. I think when Roman wins at WrestleMania, I think that's what he does. Comes out either after winning that match and does kind of like an Undertaker thing, or the next night on Raw comes out and says, hey, I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I've been champion for over 3 years at this point. I said 2 years ago that I was going to beat everyone and then I'm going to go home. And that's what I'm going to do. So here, Hunter, Steph, here's championships. Let's go. And then you have a tournament to decide to do that. And I think that's where you can see a Lesnar returning to go up against Lashley or something like that. But we're just getting too far into this. So both of us are picking Bobby.
Yep.
Let's go into the second big meat match, which is going to be Braun Strowman versus the Nigerian giant Omos with MVP in his corner in the singles match. I think this is Omos coming out. As much as I love Braun, I think he's a great guy. He can definitely handle the loss. I don't think Omos can handle this loss. So what's your thoughts, Showtime?
I am actually with you on this, although, Braun's the homie. But at this point, I think you do have to give this to Omos if you're going to keep him around. Because Braun beating him pretty much means that he's the giant and you don't really need an Omos, even though I've been next to Braun multiple times and that guy is huge. And the fact of the matter that Omos makes him look small is insane to me. But I think that you have to give this to Omos. I think this is an Omos night. I don't think it's going to be that great of a match, except for, Braun does most of the heavy lifting for this match. But I do see Omos being the winner. Oh, but
yeah, and
I don't know. You know what? This is going to be over there in Saudi, right? You know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Braun. You know why? Because he spent like 6 months living over there and he knows the prince very well. I'm going to go with Braun. I'm going to change my thing because I forgot this is Saudi. Braun Strowman's winning.
Gotcha.
Might not happen, but
and the main reason why I'm going to say Omos is WWE currently has no monsters. I mean, the thing is, they're now going to be able to separate Braun from that aspect and him not being a monster anymore and make Omos the monster. They have the monsters on NXT with Veer and the other dude, and what's his name that we saw get pummeled into the corner? Vaughn, right? Vaughn
from NXT?
NXT? Yeah.
Von Wagner.
Who's the Von Wagner, Veer Mahan, that sort of stuff.
You got Sangha.
So they have huge. Sangha, yeah. So they have some big people over there, and the only monster that we really had in WWE has been the Fiend for a while. So now we're getting back to the old school mentality of the Andre the Giants, of King Kong Bundy, stuff like that. Like, you have really actual superhuman freaks like Omos, who's 7'3", like 400 pounds and just jacked. Actually be monsters. And I mean, Braun is one of the biggest humans I've ever seen in my life. I used to work out at the same gym that he used to work out at. So I mean, I've seen him with full pump and everything like that. He's an absolute genetic freak. But when you see him standing next to Omos, and Omos is a solid foot taller than him and like double the width of him, it's hard to imagine that Braun can have this monster of all monsters title and not be bigger than everyone else. So I think this allows Braun to maybe go and join Bray once he loses, or sets him up for other stuff. And this also sets Omos to go do bigger things. And we might see like a Rey Mysterio versus Big Show sort of aspect, or like Rey Mysterio versus Great Khali aspect. But now we have Omos versus whoever you want to put in that Rey Mysterio kind of side to it. So MVP will be a factor in this match. I'll put money on that. But we'll see. I like how this is. The disagreements here are good today. So moving into a very interesting match, we're going to have Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross with Scarlett Bordeaux in a steel cage match. Showtime. Who you going with?
This was a tough one for me as well. I mean, Crown Jewel, this is probably going to be the toughest one that I think we do. I am going to go with Drew on this one. I think that, Karrion Kross has won. They've got to that part. I think you have Drew win this one, and this be the final. This is the go home. This is it, and then you move on from there, because I don't think there's not much more you can do with these two guys together.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that there's much to do, but I feel like if you were to have Drew win this match, you have to set up a rubber match. So that's why I believe that Kross will be the winner. This is that blow off that they need. And in all honesty, this sets up Drew to go down the spiral. Drew was at the top, and now he's lost consecutively to Karrion Kross, who just came around. I think this sets up Drew to work his way back up into the mix of everything. But also might allow him to take some time off and recuperate a little bit. If Kross does lose, that allows him to join up with Bray Wyatt, if that is what the case is. But I just don't see that happening right now in terms of this. And I think that there definitely is going to be interference with Scarlett. We'll see how that plays in with the steel cage. But I don't really... It is very hard. Like I said, I think they're just going to do Kross. It's an easier thing to do. Drew is Drew McIntyre. He's going to be able to get over no matter what. And I think that there are specific reasons why specific matches happen. Obviously, we're getting Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows there. We're getting Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley. We're getting Braun versus Omos, because I'm sure that's what the Prince wants. And I think this is something like, hey, the Prince wants to see Kross. So yeah, I think it is the hardest match to think about what's going to happen, because there's so many different variables to it. But it's also kind of simple at the same time. Cool. So we're going to go into the just announced undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship match versus the Usos. Which will have the Usos taking on the Brawling Brutes.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry. I see no ifs, ands, or buts. The Usos are the undisputed titles for a reason. They are closing in on being the longest reigning tag team champion in history. I don't see them losing. This is the first win of the night for the Bloodline. Very easy to see that happening, and especially since we'll see if Sami Zayn is going to go to Saudi. I don't know if he will, or because I know there's been issues in the past with that. So we'll see what's going on. I definitely think that there's going to be some intriguingness to this, because Triple H did say that Logan and Jake Paul will be at Crown Jewel, so you can have some brother twin thing going on with the Usos. So we'll see what's going to go on, but that's my thought. There's no way that the Usos lose this match before they become the greatest tag team of all time and the longest reigning of all time, especially since they've already started teasing the New Day the New Day versus the Usos right around that same time period that they will overtake their record for the longest reigning champs of all time. So I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think?
I mean, I'm with you. Obviously, the Usos win again. There's no way you take it off them, especially at Crown Jewel. I don't think that's the right time for you. And to your point, nope, I highly doubt you'll ever see Sami Zayn over there. So it's going to suck if we don't get like a funny moment or something from him from that point of view. But I am very excited to see what it comes down to with Logan and Jake Paul together. I thought that had been a really good route for them to go. I don't know how you play that or get there, but I do think that that's another way you move to get somebody else for the Usos. Because at this point, the Usos need somebody fresh. Me personally, I've been pushing for Pretty Deadly, or the Creed brothers to come up. But, the Usos need something new because we've seen them against everybody. I love the Brawling Brutes. I think it's going to be amazing, fantastic, because I'm a Pete Dunne fan. So it's going to be an awesome match. But Usos come out again on top. And then I guess at some point you have to figure out either you take Sammy out, you make it with KO, you go that route, or you go Jake and Logan Paul and do that against the Usos and make that for Mania.
I don't think you can make it for Mania. You could also do it for Survivor Series. You could do the Pauls versus Usos. You can bring. I think
it's too soon.
You could turn. But the thing is, it's hot right now.
Yeah, but Jake hasn't wrestled.
I don't think you can do. But he does train MMA and he does train boxing and he does train in that sense. So, there is an aspect of it, you could have Kevin Owens come into the fray and they can do it, and they can do the Usos and Sammy versus the Pauls and Kevin Owens. And that could be the thing that snaps Sammy out of it, or the thing that turns Sammy, or, we'll see. I mean, there's so many different ways that this can go. I mean, yeah, but like I said, I don't think I foresee the Usos losing anytime soon. I think they're going to on that same track with Roman, as they are just going to relinquish their titles after winning at Mania. Sorry. Mama Weinberg texted me, although it's not Mama Weinberg. So just, yeah, my mom. All right. So before we get into the main event of Crown Jewel, we are going to have one more stop. This is going to be Bianca Belair versus Bayley in a last women's standing match for the WWE Raw Women's Championship. I think it's the time. I think it is time. I think it's time. I think it is time. We will be seeing hashtag and new women's champion Bayley with the help of Damage Control. Damage Control fresh off losing their WWE Women's Tag Team Championship titles to Asuka and Alexa Bliss, returning from the injuries that were given to them by Damage Control. I believe that this is the one way to set up the dream match that we've been pitching for months now, which is going to be Bianca Belair, Asuka, and Alexa Bliss taking on Damage Control, taking on, dare I say, Toxic Attraction at WWE Survivor Series War Games. Winner take all championship. Book it now. Mic drop. See y'all later. I couldn't leave the people hanging. All right.
When you talk about Toxic Attraction, I'm always a fan, so I would love to see that. But I'm unfortunately not going to go with you on this one. I think Bianca wins this one again and sets up Bianca versus Flair going into Mania season.
All right. So we have it. Honestly, I like that idea too, and I thought about that a while because I do think that Charlotte is going to come and go directly towards Bianca. But now that I said that piece about Charlotte versus Rhea, I think that actually makes more sense because, like we talked about, it's what, November? Yeah, it's November, and Mania is not till April. So November, December, January, February, March. We have 5.5 months basically before we get to Mania. If you take one more month or 2 more months and put Charlotte in the first program before you get to Bianca, you still have a solid 4 months to run Charlotte versus Bianca, or 3 months if you really want to stretch it out. So I like the idea of Bianca winning. I just don't see how if Bianca wins, Damage Control's done. And I don't think they're ready to pull that trigger yet. I think it would be extremely smart of Toxic Attraction to show up and do something in this match. And I think that were really going to happen if it wasn't in Saudi. I think if it was in the US, it would definitely happen. But I think something happens possibly on Monday night to change that up a little bit, because I think that is what we're going to be seeing. I think we're going to see a 3-on-3-on-3 for War Games, and I think that those three teams or a variation of those three teams, possibly even Sasha and Naomi returning, which is probably not going to happen anymore now since Sasha is fighting in New Japan. So we'll see. There's a ton of different ways that we can go with this, but the one thing is for certain that this match is going to set up the next 2 months, I would say, of content for the Women's Championship match. And this is going to bring us to the last prediction of the day, probably the easiest prediction besides the Usos that we're going to have, but it will be Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul in a singles match for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. There is no way that Roman Reigns loses, although it's going to be a fantastic match, I believe, and Logan is going to show up and do his best. They have been throwing the one lucky punch thing, but there's no way that Roman Reigns loses an almost 3-year reign to Logan Paul in his second match in WWE. If that happens, I'm going to need to seriously take a break. So yeah, Showtime.
Yeah,
just repeat to me what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Roman Reigns wins this one.
It's... Yeah, I don't see any other outcome for that. I do see that there could potentially be, some different things happening with Logan and Jake and the Usos and Solo and Paul Heyman and possibly Sami Zayn if he's there. I think Sami is actually in Saudi, which is very intriguing because he has been so against going to Saudi because of his heritage and his nationality and stuff like that. So if he is there, good on him for doing that, or shame on him for selling out and taking the payday. But we'll see. Hopefully everything is going to stay Ucey for everyone going into Saudi Arabia. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. Looks like we only agreed on 3 matches, so that's going to be interesting. We both have Bobby Lashley, both have Roman Reigns, we both have the Usos. So the Showtime Heavyweight Championship is on the line. Your boy, V. Matt Weinberg, is looking to hold it for the first time, and I don't know if there's going to be a hashtag and new. I think looking at this, it might be hashtag and still your Showtime Wrestling Podcast Heavyweight Champion, Mr. Showtime. So we'll see what happens. So moving on to the final segment of the podcast, I thank you all for staying. We're definitely, I think this is the longest episode we've had so far. I think we're closing on like an hour and a half right now. So this is absolutely fantastic. But you've seen it on Facebook. You've seen it on Twitter. You've seen it on Instagram. You've seen it on TikTok. Right now, I'm going to give you a little special treat of Showtime's Power 5 for this week. Showtime, the floor is yours, sir. The floor is yours.
Oh, man. I love the power ranking each week, and this one is going to be no different. The Matt Weinberg. So this time, you know what? We're going to do what we always do and start at number 5. This one is a special one to me. We talked about him earlier today, and I just have to say, I have to spell his name. JFFJARRETT, Jeff Jarrett. Coming in already making a statement with hitting Darby Allin with the greatest guitar hit I have seen in a very, very long time. Plus, obviously coming in to help out Tony Khan as well. Jeff Jarrett makes my number 5 for top ranking. The next one, number 4, is, as always, he's better than you, and you know it. And that is MJF. Man, the character work of MJF is just unbelievable. You start out with a guy who is 1,000% a heel, and then turns into a baby face, and then turns back into a heel, all in the same night, and then turns back into a baby face again to try to help out. The guy's incredible. MJF, once again, making the power rankings. This third one that we have here, number 3, is big for me. This is a new one. She hasn't been on here before. It is a female this time, and it is Bianca Belair. Man, she has been on fire lately. That Nikki Cross match was amazing as well. And as you know, the Matt Weinberg, as you know, Showtime is still on board with her winning at Crown Jewel as well. So we have her at number 3. Number 2, this is somebody you know very well. We just talked about him as well. Don't think he's going to make it out, but it is none other than Ucey himself, Sami Zayn. The man, every time, every week he's on TV, he makes me glued to it. I have to figure out what he's doing next. He's on 1,000% straight fire as well. And, he made everybody break character. And the thing is, it's not the first time he's ever said Ucey, but for whatever reason, in that specific moment, that was the best moment ever. And then, obviously to back it up with going to Waffle House. How can you go against that? Waffle House is amazing. You can't go wrong with that at all. And then let's go ahead with number 1. You ready for this? This is the new number 1 for me this time, too. This one goes out to Rhea Ripley. This girl has been insane. She went from NXT, killing it over there, going over and slamming. The muscle, the amount of strength Rhea Ripley has is crazy impressive, especially because she was just coming off an injury as well. So I'm super excited for her to be at the top. She's been killing it, especially with Dom as well. So that is, as always, your Showtime 5 power ranking. Back to you, the Matt Weinberg.
So all you can say, Showtime wants to see Ray on top.
Hey, just in case sponsors, he doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that at all.
No, I agree with that. She's been absolutely phenomenal. I don't necessarily agree that she might be a number 1 pick for a power ranking, but she did body slam good old Luke Gallows, and that dude is a monster. Yep. So that is awesome. So that's the Showtime power rankings. Just for the podcast people, we will be doing the normal posting on the social medias for that, but I did want to give y'all the taste of that to have on the podcast as well if you're not seeing it on social media, and kind of maybe entice you to go find us out on social media. It is very fun. It's we're having a great time. All the links are down in the description. And we look forward to seeing you there. And I look forward to reading all the shit that you want to talk to Showtime about his power rankings and all of his other beliefs. So, with that being said, just like CM Punk's wrestling career, our episode has come to an end. I just want to say thank you for hanging out today. Thank you for all the support. We continue to be in the top 150 sports podcast on Apple Music and elsewhere. Keep on growing, keep on living, and we'll see y'all next week. Appreciate every single one of you. Showtime, it's been a pleasure, my dude. I hope that you have a great day, and see you next week.
You know it. And as always, you know how we end the show? It's showtime.